It'd be really nice on Twitter if you could just put various addresses that you want to make sure that you see, so you could just click on them. I don't know why Twitter hasn't done that, but apparently I can't get Jack's attention on that.
Can you do any groups in Twitter like you could in LinkedIn?
You can with lists and things, but I don't find them very set. I'm not in too many lists, and I go take a look and see what they are. Nah. With New Mexico, all I get is Mark Ronchetti.
You can follow Threads. You can follow Threads on Twitter.
But, yeah, you can follow Threads, but it's accidental. It's not quite accidental. There's an algorithm, but you don't always get, really key people, and it's hard to remember everybody's Twitter handle. So it's kind of nice if you could just have a little. I can do that myself. I could put it in a Word. I've got to do that because there's some people I like to follow that don't have a lot of followers, and so I'm unlikely to see them very much, and they have some really great ideas, and so it's every once in a while you run into someone, you just go, wow, that is amazing.
That's true. I bumped into a guy called Jim Al-Khalili, who is a professor from university in Surrey. I just can't remember the name, in England. And I bought a book of his a long time ago called Black Holes, Wormholes and Time Machines.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it's an outstanding book. It really is. It's just really good. It's such an easy read of space and time in a very down-to-earth, pragmatic way. And I was so impressed with it.
I'll be back.
I was so impressed with the book. I actually bought it for quite a few people in my last company, including my CEO, just as a present. It was really good. And I hadn't heard about him or seen of him forever. And then all of a sudden he popped up on Twitter. So now I'm following him.
So, Phil, could you tell me a little of your background? Because I haven't met you before.
Yeah, well, I'm a technologist. I've been in the semiconductor industry for most of my life, and before that in high-tech company. I come from England, as you can see. I exited England around 95 and went to live in Munich in Germany. And then from Munich in Germany, I stayed there for 6 years and then came to California, where I stayed in California for 13 years. And then I moved to Florida and then up to New York, from Florida to New York. And then now from New York to New Mexico. But I've traveled the globe, worked for multinational companies. And now for the last, I guess, about 10 years, I've been doing business consulting. I've done startups in Afghanistan and in the US and help people develop their business. And I'm specializing now. I'm getting more specialized in my strategic business. So I'm specializing in strategic planning for competitive advantage. And I've spent this year, because I haven't been able to network as much as I wanted to, in writing a book. And I've just sent that book for publication to my publisher, and we're going through the first round of edits and proofreads. So I should be published, I think, in the new year.
Great. We're going to jump into my deal here. Thanks for doing your intro early, Mr. Phil, and Maggie, for getting the conversation going. We've got this is the way this usually runs. Is I've got it on YouTube. You can use it for whatever. Just look up Adam's Friday Flow with Entrepreneurs if you'd like to use anything from it. And then the way this kind of runs is you're open to challenges within it. Attend at a whim. So whenever you want to, people can come and go. The idea is if we have too many people coming on a constant basis, we won't have enough time to talk with everybody. So it's okay if you're here one week and not another or whatever. And in fact, encourage other people to kind of show up and come and go too. And then connect the topic that we choose to kind of your business, because what we really want to do here is work on figuring out how your business is working and how we can work together. And there's a note that's covered up by these pictures. Oh, yeah, I use these slides as an aid. As you notice, I'm kind of low maintenance about how this runs, even though I've got all kinds of things I'm doing in the background. A lot of this is also me just sort of building my skill in how to run this stuff. So this is the way it's going to run. We're going to do an intro to the topic. Then attendees are going to introduce themselves, and then we'll have an open discussion loosely on the topic. And then we'll end about 10 minutes to the end. You're going to have an action ask. So something you're asking for action from the rest of the crew. So that's kind of the big idea. And here we go. So the challenge question I gave was, how do you distinguish between wants and needs for your business?
Oh, yeah.
Here are some answers that were given before from the discussion group. And this time I actually took people's names off, so that was kind of nice. Wants are nice to have and need justification, and needs should be justified requirements. Okay, those are a lot of words. I'll get back to that. I want people to know what I want.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry, I was on the phone. My apologies. I need back home.
A need is anything essential to achieve our goals. And a want will not directly generate income for my business, whereas a need will. Okay, cool. So those are some thoughts that are out there. I have someone who has a want right now at my feet. And so I'm going to push her out of the room. All right, hey kiddo, we're gonna go this way. I know. Life is really good. I know. Okay.
Hey Phil, quick question, because you're from across the pond. Do you have a team? Do you root for?
Sorry, say again.
Do you have a football team that you root for?
Yeah. Well, our family's always been West Ham.
That's not bad. Not bad. I wasn't sure if the Passover in Munich switched leagues or anything on you.
Oh, no. But it's funny because when I was in Munich, then I was supporting Bayern Munich. And to cap all of that, one of the contracts I had was working for the European Union Football Association, which is equivalent to the NFL. So I had a year's contract with them, doing a risk assessment on their warehouse, which is a really good deal.
That's great. That's great. I'm a big football fanatic, so it's always nice to meet another fan.
Yeah, I get a lot of UEFA stuff.
Sorry, Adam. We were talking about soccer.
Oh no, that's okay. You can talk about soccer. I would
talk
go
about
with,
real football.
Los Tigres. Huh?
Los Tigres. Yeah, those guys are good. Yeah, those guys are good.
Cemex. I can't see it. Cemex. Whatever they are. Anyway, so it's a good topic. I don't know anything about it, but I got the T-shirt. Anyway,
well, it's great to be in Mexico. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, it is great. That's where I got the shirt. Like I was in Oaxaca, and I wanted something to kind of like commemorate being there, and I figured, what better than football? I usually have something on here of like, I write up my whys, hows, and whats, but as on occasion I got behind all that. But the big thing of the why, the needs and the wants, is this is something that we struggle with. Like, why do we do stuff? And we in the US make a big deal about needs over wants, which is interesting because our brain doesn't quite work the same way, especially if most of our real needs are actually met. So that's what we're gonna discuss, is like how we're gonna work on that and kind of like what it means for everybody. So we'll come back to that, but we're gonna go ahead and do the intros. So if you'd paste in the chat any link you'd like me to send people to, and I'll pull it up in the background while you're introducing yourself. So I'll give you a moment to do that. And I will also pull it up on mine. Soccer was one of my layers, but apparently it wasn't enough. I'm out in the garage when I'm working out here, and I need to work on the insulation in this place. So it's a good morning. So here's my website. I am Sparks Flow. What I get to do is I help people really engage their creative desires and make things happen in their family businesses. And this is my simple little website that I got when Google gave it to me for free when I signed up with them. And so here's that excitement, and some cool reviews that make me feel really neat, and some stuff that I wrote a couple of months ago that probably still applies. So the way we're gonna go here is I have Annie, then Phil, Maggie, and Mark. Somehow you moved to the end, so I'm gonna give you the last chunk, but Daniel, go before Mark if Mark is on audio at any point here. Okay, so Annie, go for it, and I will pull up your stuff.
Hey, Annie Rosari, CEO and founder of Core Community Housing, Sustainable Community Development. Also a project manager, PMP certified, CSM certified. Also a real estate investor in corporate housing for traveling professionals and other group syndication, real estate investing, and other forms of real estate investing.
Cool. Thank you. And Phil, you got to say your thing, but here's your background, and you can give another quick shout out about you.
Phil Wilden, always worked in high technology semiconductors, now specializing in strategic business and helping companies develop a simple strategic planning process to improve their competitive advantage.
Oh, now Phil, I'm going to give you a hard time again.
Good.
When I clicked on your link, you did the same thing you did a week ago or something.
Yeah.
You put spaces between strategic global group.
Yeah, you have to.
Okay.
You have to tap out the spaces.
I
don't know.
Well, I'm about low maintenance here.
It happens on the iPad.
Okay, and Mark says he'll be audio only, and then we've got. I'm gonna find out what this is with Dan. Dan, you didn't make yours clickable.
How do I make it clickable?
You add HTTP in front of it.
HTTPS semicolon or double dots.
Yeah.
Rather.
Zoom is not as user friendly with links as other social media. Okay, so I've got that one. I'll be ready, and then I've got. Maggie, you're up. I apologize. My internet has been. That's fine, Maggie.
My internet's terrible, you guys. It's the last couple of days, and I have not had a time to call and get it fixed, so I apologize. But I've been a faculty member at UNM, and I worked in DC and at NSF and NIH, and I don't know. I've helped about 600, or really more. I thought about it, 700 maybe. UNM students go off and get advanced degrees, and found out the business people in town didn't know they existed, and so started STEM Boomerang because I found out that the students also wanted to come home, and so that's what we've been doing. But the reason I wanted to come here, I hope this is working, but the reason that I came to this is because I'm actually interested in finding a good thought community within Albuquerque, because I have a lot of ideas, and I guess they're wants, but things like, apps to really help local businesses. When COVID started, I tried to get the state to, appoint all of us microbiologists and immunologists to go to the nursing homes to protect them and couldn't get that to happen. And then I put together 20 or 30 startup companies to make PPEs and got AFRL to take that over. So, you know, I always see a lot of things to be done, and I like to think about that. And I like to think of things that I call chronic hard problems, which are like, you know, housing and income disparity and diversity and any good old problem that's been around since we started being humans that I think is solvable.
That's great. Well,
So our
sometime-
company is right, STEM Boomerang. Hmm.
So the cool thing you asked.
Okay,
you
I'm gonna go
mentioned
back
about
to no
the,
video here,
something
'cause
that's
it's-
solvable.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool thing you said about solvable. I'm working with a lady named Joycelyn Campbell, which I often refer to these past few days because I'm working with her. And she's like doing all kinds of brain study stuff, and she points out that you know, one of the cool things we do that really keeps us driving is having a quest, and so we're seeking the solutions to these things, and making it solvable isn't always the thing that keeps us driven. Like and she uses Einstein with his force theory, where
Imagining relativity by riding on a particle of light.
yeah, but he had a quest to make the universal force theory, or I don't have the right name for it. What is it?
Yeah. The field theory, universal field theory.
There, thanks. Universal field theory. And you know, he never accomplished it, but he thought that his time was really well spent because he continued to put effort forward in it. And so solvable is definitely a great thing we want to have, but it's also good to even focus on it even if we don't get it totally solved.
Well, so
All right.
my premise is that underneath all these difficult problems are things that stabilize them, and that if you're just looking at the surface of a problem, you can't actually figure out what is stabilizing it. And if you can disrupt the stabilizers, you can often have the whole problem disappear without even hitting the surface. So
like
anyway, that and Mexico connections. My mom's from Mexico, so I just it's good to see all these Mexico connections.
Que padre! That's great. Anyway, Mr. Dan Huron.
I
Is
love
it Heron or Huron?
Heron, yeah.
Heron,
When I was a
okay.
kid, they made fun of me. They're like, "Is your hair on today, Dan?" Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, I speak Spanish because I'm married to a Mexican woman, and I think it's interesting
Is
how.
this the right thing?
What was that?
Is this the right thing?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's my wife's business that I help her with. Yeah, and I
That's
just
great.
think it's interesting that it's like, you know, que padre, what a dad is like cool, means cool in Mexican. And que madre is like bad, you know, like mom, it's
Oh
bad.
no!
You know, mom is the disciplinator, you know, and dad's the cool guy. Anyways, thought that was interesting because you said que padre. What you see on the screen is lazos mexicanos, or Mexican ties in Spanish, and what it is an accessory and artisanal bag, designer bag company by my wife. So she's an entrepreneur and creates these bags in collaboration with indigenous women's groups in Mexico. So every design and bag and accessory is unique from a different type of indigenous group. So Mazahuas, Oaxaca, as Adam mentioned before,
Yeah.
Mextica, Tolunga. So there's a bunch of different tribes, if you will, down in old Mexico, and they all have their own unique style. And so she does this with them in collaborations. And so since COVID hit, she used to just sell these things in person. And so then, you know, I helped her get an Etsy account. And so we've been, you know, just kind of getting that started. So that's Lazos Mexicanos, and that's ran predominantly by my wife,
That's
but I help
cool.
her out. So we call ourselves Dancy because her name's Nancy and my name's Dan. So we call ourselves Dancy.
That's funny. That's great.
So that's a fun.
And here's
project.
the Sandias with
Yeah,
their artwork in front.
Yeah, we took some photos out here in New Mexico because we're really trying to build the old Mexico, New Mexico bridge connections more. So it's a fun project. You know, it's not a super venture, but it's something fun and important to us. So
And
check
I
it
can
out.
see you're down by the river with those invasive salt cedars,
Mhm.
but the cottonwoods in the background there.
Yeah,
That's-
you are New Mexican. You know your your landscape there. That's good.
Dan, I find it interesting you say I speak Mexican and not Spanish.
Yeah, I purposely do that. A lot of people think it's weird that I do that, but I just think that Spanish is so
I didn't notice.
diverse that especially Mexican Spanish, because it's got so many Native American influence on it, words on it, that it's just nothing like the Spaniards, and
Yeah,
then you go across the pond, man, they got like a million languages in their neck of the woods that they're fighting over anyways,
Right. Yeah. Well, I've got a similar scenario because I'm married to a French Canadian, and French in Canada is what the French would call Old French, and so they have different words and they say different phrases than they would do in France.
Yeah.
Well, so I traveled by land from the U.S. down to mostly lived in Colombia and Guatemala, but Ecuador and Brazil right after college. And so, yeah, every time you went back and forth across the border, the language changed, and then half the time you're speaking mixed up Quiche Maya and.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's why I do that. Just kind of like sometimes I say I speak American, not to taint the Queen's language that you speak there, Phil. So
Yeah, I say I speak English, and when I'm in the US, I speak American.
American.
American with a capital M.
It's aluminum, not aluminium, whatever that is you guys say over there.
The real question is which one's authentic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had that the other week. Adam was talking about originals, and so we defined that English is the original language.
Yeah. It's interesting when you start studying the linguistics and the history of that stuff, though, because, what you'll find is I was a language major in college, and what you'll find is, some of these cultures that migrated away from their homelands still have words that are actually really, really ancient. And the modern cultures, like in England and Japan, and they've actually modernized their language actually quite a lot. And it's almost like a captured moment in time that these cultures that moved away, or these migrants that moved away have like a really old Japanese or a really old English,
Northern New Mexico is a good
Yeah.
example of that.
Well, there you go.
I was going to ask you, Maggie, if you really could, since I'm pretty sure you got a lot of linguistics going on here, if you noticed that. What?
Oh yeah. No, well, one of my friends, and you guys will laugh. So Margaret Montoya is from Las Vegas, and when I first got here, all the professional Hispanics that I met here were from Las Vegas because of Highlands, I guess. Anyway, she would go down to Mexico, and they would say, instead of calling me back, me llama más tarde or something like that, she would say, me llama por atrás. And it was like, people would I mean,
call
we
my
just have
booty.
yeah, call my backhand, I don't know. It's like, you just never, and we have a farm up in Cuba, and so there's a lot of old Spanish up there too. It's pretty neat. Old traditions too.
Now, when I went to Oaxaca, I went with a fella from this area, and they're like saying, yeah, it was really interesting talking to him. So, because he and I were both working on our Spanish. Like, he was working on a different way though.
Oaxaca it's such a poor state, and it has so many different native indigenous tribes. And it was just an amazing place for me. I really felt like I was born in Oaxaca. Then you go to Chiapas, and the natives there, are completely different. And then Guatemala, I lived with Quiche Mayas, and so it's it's a rich cultural place. It's unbelievable.
That's cool. All right, Mark, we got your stuff all splashed up here.
Awesome. Hey
You wanna
guys,
give us,
I'm Mark Masters. I'm a comedian. I'm in Denver, Colorado, not too far from New Mexico. I presented recently at the Albuquerque 1 Million Cups, which is how I found you. There's my website. I got some shows coming up. You can see there. Tonight there's a show every Friday night, 6 to 6:30 Mountain. We're all in the same time zone. It's online and free, so that's fun. If you scroll up just a little bit, there's a link for that. There you go, right there. Every Friday, 6. Yeah, well, that big button as well. Yep. So that's a lot of fun. Am I supposed to talk about wants and needs, or is this just an introduction?
You can talk about whatever you want, but the introduction is what you're doing now.
Oops.
Then
Hold on,
we'll loosely get
I
into the
messed up my
topic.
audio
So
somehow I cannot hear you.
oh no, I can hear you.
Okay, I got the
Yeah.
audio back. Sorry.
Oh,
Can you
good.
hear me?
Yeah, you can talk. You can talk about whatever you want. This is the time to introduce yourself and everything. But yeah,
Okay, cool. Yeah, this is what we're seeing on screen is this Comedy Test Kitchen. It's just 30 minutes long, comics from all over. We got a comic from London tonight. What else?
hey,
Yeah, some local folks. Be on at 1 a.m. her time. The headliners from Detroit. We got a couple of comics from Colorado. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, there's a map of every comic we've had. So this is what I've been doing. I'm a stand-up comedian, and usually I perform live in front of people. But I've been, because I want to perform, I've needed to find a way to do it virtually online. And one of the cool things is that we've had comedians from 5 continents, 8 countries, and 21 states, and growing at this point. We had a fella from Zimbabwe. He was incredible, very funny. Had some folks from Asia, Australia, Hawaii. So yeah,
zoom in here.
We got Mexico,
See,
Cancun.
there's somebody from.
Oh yeah, we had a New Mexico, Sarah.
Come on.
I forget her last name.
I want to get to it, but I have to it's behaving funny with my mouse. Whatever. It doesn't like New Mexico. I think that's what it is.
Could be.
I can't get to it.
Okay. Her first name is
There we go.
Sarah. I know that. Everybody else can go on their own computer and probably navigate it. Maybe.
Yeah, no, we got there. There's Sarah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Does it tell you who it is?
Yeah. Sarah Kennedy. There you
Oh,
go.
look at that. That's funny. So, all right.
She performed in August.
And then you are which peg are you?
I'm not even sure I'm on there because I'm de facto in here, but I'd be in Denver, Colorado. But there's
Wow.
you're gonna find that there's 100, maybe not 100, 15 Denver, Colorados, and this map is weird because it stacks everything on top of each other. Doesn't really differentiate. But you could try clicking the Denver one, which is that central.
Oh, I see. So they're all in central Denver. You are Mandy. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Cool.
So yeah, that's me. I'm excited to be here. Maybe I'll present something in the future. And this pandemic's been weird, man, but it's been a lot of fun. I've really I've made the most of it and been writing quite a bit, which is an important part of my craft. And just figuring out these online shows have been it's been a joy, really. It started out kind of a task, a chore, and I've really enjoyed figuring out the technology, and meeting people from around the world has been an unexpected surprise. And I just really like making people laugh and getting them healthier through, there's all kinds of neat stuff about how laughter can make you healthier. I'm working on a talk for a hospital system next year. If anybody, I'd like to give a version of that talk for free to work out the material. If anybody knows a group that'd be interested in how laughter can impact health or business leadership, reach out to me and we'll set something up.
Yeah. Well,
That's a good topic for you, Adam. How does laughter improve your health? And it struck me immediately Mark said it, because I think it improves your health immensely.
Yeah, well, biologically, I mean, there are scientific studies about reducing cortisol levels and changing blood pressure, and um, so I'm in the
I can-
thick of putting together the presentation now.
Reducing inflammation too, I think. And
Yeah.
you know, so one of my friends just got out of the hospital with COVID, and she really intentionally stayed positive the whole time. She says, "I'm not going to like worry or think negative thoughts or anything." So she's out now, so that's good.
That's great.
I'm doing this team workshop here coming up, and it hasn't landed on what date it's going to be. But because everything is online, I'm trying to figure out ways to, like, you know, get people into another frame of mind without giving them a different place, because I can't do that. So that might be a good thing if, that I could get together with you on.
Okay.
Do a little bit of that, and it's with it's with a group around here, so that's pretty cool.
Awesome, Adam. Yeah, let's connect about that. You have my email.
Yeah.
Mark, I'm a member of the Cancer Center here, and I've been adjunct in a bunch of departments in the med school. So I can, when you're ready, let me know, and I'll send the thing around and see who can.
Yeah. Also, here's a separate ask or give. I do what I call pro bozo comedy shows for nonprofits, and so some seniors groups up here in Colorado. And so if the Cancer Center ever wanted a virtual comedy show, you know, clean material, I'd be happy to put that together. I love to, you know, it's a joy to me to make people laugh. And the comics who I do those shows, I waive my fee. The comics that I usually pay for shows really enjoy doing them because it's just fun to make people laugh, and especially people who need the laughs a lot. It's more rewarding. So yeah, if there's a sorry, I lost your name, Maggie. There's a contact form on my website, that markmasters.co, like Colorado, and it goes right to my phone, and I email people back right away. So just send me a note, and we'll exchange emails and then stay in touch about opportunities.
Yeah, so that's my email, and I'm connected with a lot of cancer centers around the whole country. So they're from MIT to UCSF and Stanford. So I can help with that.
Terrific. I'll email you this morning. Thank you so much, Maggie.
That's great. And I think you guys might have a great conversation too, because Maggie's all about like thinking about things through a different way. And I think that's what humor is about. It's making connections in your head that weren't there before. And it's, from my understanding, and it's the release of like that new connection that creates the humor.
Yeah.
I think it's all about paradox too. And paradox is where we are. And it's just, that's going to be really useful.
That's cool. So needs and wants. That's a good, talking about laughter and, if that's a need or a want. I guess I'll leave that as a question. What do you think laughter is a need or a want?
Oh boy. For me, it's a need, but I would say maybe for the general population, a want.
Right. Okay. It's good.
Well, needs are things that are kind of must-haves, and wants are things that would like. So laughter is a must-have, so it would be a need, and the more of it we can get, the better it is.
Nice. I love that attitude, Phil. Thank you. Pro laughter.
Yeah, you get so much wrapped up in the social and political world this year that I get extremely angry. I have to force myself away from the internet and just don't look at things for a while. So, there's not so much laughter, but when you do see some funny things on the internet, there are some really funny things that do make me laugh a lot.
Come on. So I've tried to do the whiteboard on this thing, and it's not always been my friend. So I'm gonna do it on here and see how this works out for us. But the little things, needs and wants, and sometimes I'll write stuff in the background here just to kind of organize ideas. It helps me, but also, the audience, we focus on stuff. And so laughter is, so Annie, what do you think? Is laughter a need or a want?
Oh, I think it's a need. Need and a want, right? Both.
Daniel?
I gotta tab over to find the unmute button. I gotta learn the hotkey for that.
Well, and not only that, but like the hotkey, like I try to push space bar. That's what the hotkey is. But sometimes I'm like in the chat, and so I'm just pushing it, and it's just making a bunch of spaces in the chat.
I think I've been thinking a lot about the need for community, but when you dig down a little bit more into what specific element of community that you need right now, to Phil's point, I think we need to, take some of the stress and some of the, seriousness away, because I find myself the same way where I got to just delete that social app or not look at the thing because I'm just getting frustrated, not waiting on the world to change, and so, when for Mark's business, when I think about, I think if you go at it with a marketing angle of just like, hey, come have a laugh, that might work, in a traditional sense. But I feel like you might even have to go deeper on an emotional level of like building bonds and, what do we actually do when we're in community and friendship? Most of the time we're joking around and laughing, right? So I'm not sure exactly what the marketing angle is or the verbiage is there, but yeah, I think of community when I think of laughter right now. So there's probably some more we could explore there.
Yeah.
So
And Maggie, I don't know if you said anything. Yeah.
no, I haven't. But so I had a mentoring program at UNM, and we had 4 principles. And I think the deeper you dig into things, the more you can get down to fewer and fewer real core principles. But the second one was to look for the positive or the blessing in everything. And that's sort of the yin yang, it is paradox, I guess, always too. But, so for instance, if somebody's really terrible to you, you have 2 immediate positives. This was especially for Native kids and kids that would run into racism on a regular basis. But the 2 positives are, 1, remember, you're not that person. And 2, you're not married to that person. And then they would laugh, usually, really laugh. And it was very helpful because the laughter and what you're talking about, Dan, is really important in terms of realizing that you choose how you're going to respond. It is you have power over that. And so anyway, that's my contribution. But you need people to remind you because for some reason, the positive or the blessing and everything, it's, you don't remember it. But so for instance, I would say, when the shit hits the fan, you've got 2 responses. One of them is, oh my, this is awful, it's terrible. And the other one is, manure, great, I've got the field, let's go. And who do you want to follow? Who do you want to follow? So it's an important leadership principle, and it's helpful to have a community to remind you of that.
Yeah.
You just reminded me of something I heard this morning on NPR. It's another history moment, Adam. And unfortunately, I forgot the gentleman's name, but it's the guy who wrote the book about the French Revolution. And one of the thing that stuck with me most, which is probably why I forgot the rest of it, is that he married this lady, and they lived together for 6 years, and they were completely unhappy between the pair of them. Totally just was not a good marriage. And one of their friends said to them after they broke up, it was a good job that they were married for 6 years together because only 2 of them were unhappy as opposed to 4 people being unhappy.
That's great. So the topic of needs and wants is this, it's it came up because of a conversation I was having with Joycelyn Campbell. And when I lived and worked in a homeless shelter for 5 years up in Wisconsin, I remember coming in and there was a whiteboard that obviously someone had given a talk about needs and wants to the people who were living at the homeless shelter. And I thought, oh yeah, that's good because, yeah, you want to be able to make sure that you're not wasting your money or your, home savings stuff on your wants. But as time went on, I started thinking about it. I was like, but how can you tell the difference between a need and a want? And then as Joycelyn brought up, she points out that we really move because of our desires, right? You have these things that you're frightened of, and that'll give you a certain amount of tension that gives you, it gets you somewhere, right? It's like the donkey and the stick thing. But that'll get you to a certain point. But once you get rid of that fear, then you have no reason to move forward because you're not moving towards something. You're just moving away from something, right? So you're moving away from that fear of not having the needs. And she says what really moves us is our wants. And that in our brain, there's like this desire you have, and there's the state at which you're at right now. And in fact, the greater the difference between those, sometimes the better your motivation will be. And she even talks about, you guys heard of the Eisenhower squares?
No.
I've mentioned it a couple times in here and tried to use it as a tool. So it's this, I'll type it in here and we'll bring it up. Eisenhower squares. Anyway, it was popularized also by the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Steve Covey. Eisenhower squares. And it's basically urgent, not urgent. Important, not important. And so that's kind of, it's broken up like that. And this kind of helpful for some people to kind of like play around with ideas and figure it out. But she says that this is usually called, if it's important and it's urgent. Let's see now. This is interesting. This one flips it upside down. This is confusing. It has important over here, but urgent on the bottom. I don't know, that's weird. I'm gonna go over here. This one might be better. Okay. So it has urgent, if it's urgent and important, that's like quadrant 1. If it's less urgent but important, that's quadrant 2. Then there's 3 and 4 down here, and less important and 4. And she's saying, so basically it's like, don't do quadrant 4 is one of the things that they say, because like it's not important, it's not urgent, so just don't worry about it, right? Don't, put it off. And that could be helpful, but she says that this could be really misleading, which is kind of an interesting thought. And that's why I like this discussion, is because she's saying that a lot of the stuff that's in the not urgent and not important are really these like wants and things that really push us to create really neat stuff. So that's kind of some background thought there of why was interesting to me, because now if I go back to my homeless shelter and I talk to them about their needs and their wants, yes, there's things that they need, right? We have our basic needs, which are, shelter, food, health. There's different lists out there that some include certain social things and some include other little bits and pieces, but those are things that we need, right, in order to survive. But with the people that are in the homeless shelter, one of the things that Father Carr, who was my mentor there, he often went into, basically we would always do these fun things and to kind of enliven our world and make it, yes, we're dealing with tough stuff, but let's do something fun because I'm still human, right? And I still want to do stuff. And so I wonder how I would give that talk now of needs and wants, of like today. It's just one of those things that I'm like I'm playing with there.
So, Adam, one of the things I found useful is to start with a bug list. So I have people write down one page of all the things that when they think about them make them really happy.
Oh,
That's a way of knowing their heart. But then when they have things that bother them, I put down that as a bug list, and then I think you can prioritize, those sorts of things using that structure.
that's cool. I had this real cool outline of like things I could talk about with this, and I kind of talked about it already, but figuring out like how to work around that. And I was going to lead you guys through talking about what needs and wants were, and then like come around and bring it in a real cool way. But I didn't pull that off today. But I think we had a great conversation about stuff. I want to go back to what people said at the beginning that entered this stuff. I want people to need what I want. A need is anything essential to achieve our goals. And so that is interesting because, what are your goals, and are your goals wants or needs? And then a want will not directly generate income for my business, whereas a need will. And if we're talking about things like, Mark, you're kind of entertainment and things. A lot of people put that in a category of a want as opposed to a need.
Sure.
But you still make money. Well, usually.
Sometimes.
Doing it. Yeah. So that may not apply to you, right? Wants are nice to have and need justification. And needs should be justified requirements. Okay, so now I think I understand that statement a bit better. It's pretty wordy, but wants
That
are
was
nice.
me.
I know. I'm not surprised.
I just looked at it from a business point of view, having worked with multinationals, and all these different departments. These are the things that you can want something or need something, but how can you justify it?
Yeah. And so my question was actually supposed to be kind of a trick question of how do you distinguish between wants and needs in your business? It's more to get a sense of it because, and basically if we have our basic stuff taken care of, then we should really be focusing on what we want, right? Because otherwise we're going to get stuck in this angry place just dealing with needs. And that does not create as, it's not as creative. Like, you usually create things best when you're happy. That's some of the stuff that's said out there. You usually create, this is something you talk about, Maggie. If you're able to imagine things, that's when you're going to learn new things. Is it also when you create new things?
Yeah, I think what you're kind of addressing is the strengthening the reframing muscle. It's like, how do you, because you're like, I'm unhappy. I mean, so when I have my needs met, I'm not unhappy. I'm not unhappy thinking about and needs change over your whole life. So it's possible that I'm in a different space than many, many people. I don't know. But it's this whole, taking it from the other way around and really trying to look at it. So anyway, I think this is a good starting conversation, but I would say reframing is really important. And one of the things we talked about was that the introduction of No Child Left Behind and too much testing in our schools and too much TV watching and too much just staying passive. That memorization really, that passive lifestyle is really terrible in terms of creativity. And these people that had studied this sort of thing, kids that don't pretend play, losing symbolic and analytical reasoning and empathy has been kind of, as I look at our nation right now, I think that's an enormous problem, is the inability to be creative, to reframe, to look at things from a different perspective. And it's one of the key things that would be nice to see in our country now.
Yeah. And they have their needs met if they're living a passive lifestyle usually. So that's an interesting thing. I like the juxtaposition. We've gotten to the point where in this in the Friday flow, where I'm going to ask you guys to give me your asks for the community here or in general. And my ask is to tell people about great things here, help them focus on their wants after their needs are met, and to move forward. Next week the discussion will be about personality tests. So what you get from those and what ones you like and that sort of thing. And then we're gonna. So Annie, what's your ask?
I think in the context of needs and wants, I don't think we need to limit ourselves, and to dovetail to Maggie's point, I don't think we need to limit ourselves into just needs. I think in so doing that, we're limiting ourselves, right? Because especially in business, right? Let's think of it as, let's go ahead and create that list of, right? If time and money were no object, let's go ahead and create that list. And then, you know, if we couldn't, then figure out, okay, time and money is obviously going to be an issue at some point, but at least if we don't have that issue, if time and money were no object, let's go ahead and create that wish list, right? Regardless of time and money, and then prioritize, compartmentalize, and then don't put ourselves into that corner of limiting ourselves. Let's have that dream and say, okay, I'm just going to keep listing, whether it's reasonable or unreasonable. I'm going to put it on this list, whether I want it, whether I desire it, whether I need it or not, it's on this list.
Okay, so what's the ask you got there?
What I'm saying is, you know, let's not put it on the needs and want right now. Let's just go ahead and list that for our business. Let's not worry about whether we want it, whether we need it. Let's just do a list and dump it, and that's it.
Great. Mark, you already have some asks you gave, but you can give them again. What's your ask?
Sorry, I'm just about to drop. Thank you so much for having me. This has been terrific. If anybody knows a small group that would be interested in a presentation on laughter and its health benefits or its benefits in the workplace for leaders, I am working out some new material on that, a virtual slide presentation that's funny and informative. Contact me through my website, and I'd love to present it for no cost to any group that is willing to hear it and provide feedback.
Great, thanks, Mark. Maggie.
Yeah, thank you. I gotta run. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye, Mark.
Bye, Mark.
So probably needs and wants. I wish communication weren't so hard. I think it's the hardest problem. You can solve a lot of problems, but then getting the word out is a hard thing. And so that's I'm always that's tumbling around in the back of my brain all the time.
And I'm going to push you a bit more because you're trying to figure out this think tank thing or like finding community. So do you have an ask?
I don't have time for an ask right now, but so Annie and Phil, I would tell you that one of the things I wanted to do when I retired from UNM was to get a think tank, because I really feel like the Rocky Mountains are a specifically unique place for solving hard problems. And I see Pew and Brookings and all these guys, they're all in DC, and I think that we could solve some really serious issues because of the fact that just seeing the stars at night and having this open space really can help us do what Annie was just talking about, which is just throw all the cards up in the air and watch them fall. And so I wanted to do that. Well, I talked to people in DC and they would go, you need $10 million. And anyway, but I think that we don't need that. But I don't know how to organize it. And right now we're really busy with STEM Boomerang and things like that. But
and your publication. And the publication you're working on?
Oh yeah, I had this thing I started 15 years ago about creativity because I noticed a problem with my students in my classes, and anyway, so I want to wrap that up. I'm trying to go through all my old, I have 50 old seminars that were really important on various topics, and I'm trying to write articles on those just to get them get them the thinking done with those so I can move on.
Cool. Thank you, Megan. Thank you for coming, Mr. Phil.
Well, I was thinking about it. So one I would say is my would like, and these are my must-haves. So from this particular session, I would like to say that I would definitely want or would like a conversation with you, Maggie. There's a lot of areas that we have been doing together separately. I never mentioned about National Science Foundation, and I've been doing that as a mentor for a while. And actually, I'm helping Annie at the moment go through the seed funding project with the National Science Foundation. I worked on STEM colleges and the think tank. And when I was in New York, I've only been in New Mexico for 18 months. But when I was in New York, we put together a think tank, which took a long time to get going, but just as we were going to peak into getting our first customers, I moved. So I got really pissed about that because I still talk to the guy that I set it up with periodically in New York. So my ask is let's get together on the sideline and have a conversation, because I think we could do some good stuff.
You almost had a think tank going. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Wow.
We, a group of us from various different industries just got together that had time and said, okay, how can we help other businesses? And we put this kind of think tank together where each of our skill sets were tuned to a particular part of business. And the model that I'm just about to go and publish in my book was built upon partly what we developed in the think tank.
Oh, that's great.
That's cool. Well, thank you, everybody. Let's see here now. I'm going to get to my last page there. All right. Yeah. So I appreciate you coming. If you have anybody who you know would like to work on their flow and all that, I'm happy to have them talk to me, and we'll see if we're a good fit. But in the meantime, keep the sparks flowing.
Thanks, Adam.
Bye-bye, Adam. Thank you, everybody. Nice to talk with everybody.
Bye-bye.
Annie.
Yo.
So for the, we were talking about how to, do the breakout rooms and all that.
Yes.
At 1 Million Cups. What we're going to do next time is we're going to go ahead and before we start, we're going to try out the breakout rooms before everyone else gets involved.
Do we want to do that for 1 Million Cups next week, maybe?
No, I'm saying that's what the organizers are going to do. So when we do open it up later on, we'll know that it is working, and then we'll be able to narrow down what it is that's causing difficulties for individuals.
Kind of work out the kinks.
Yeah. So when we present, when we set it up next time, we should have had, we will probably had a dry run off scene to make that happen.
Offline, right? So do you want me to participate in that?
No, I'm just telling you that's what we're gonna do.
Okay.
And then if you have any questions about that or anything, you feel free to ask me about them during that thing. And
so I'm asking you next week. I won't be there next week because I have the summit with Arrowhead.
Okay, that's right.
I won't be there, so because it's an all-day summit. I won't be there.
Okay.
So I'm a good tester, to be quite honest with you, because I tend to break things.
Yeah.
Actually, I am. I mean, I'll be honest. If you want anybody to test something, I'm a good tester because I will break things. You know what I mean?
Great. Yeah.
I really am, but to that point, I actually am I'm a good, what I call myself, I'm a good regression tester because I will test every corner of something, I'll work out the kinks for sure. I would. That's because I was a former software developer. I'm definitely a very good tester because I will find things that people normally do not find. Having been a former engineer and programmer, these are the things I like to get my hands dirty.
That's good. Yeah. So we'll just we're addressing it, and we'll see how it ends up.
Yeah,